When the first officer walked through the front door of that house on the morning of June 10th, 1912, he wasn't prepared for what he was about to find. Nobody could have been. 8 people, all of them bludgeoned to death in their beds, 6 of them children. And the killer had been so careful, so deliberate about what he left behind, that over 100 years later, nobody has ever been charged. This is the Villisca Axe Murders, one of the most disturbing unsolved cases in American history. Villisca, Iowa, in 1912, is a small, close-knit farming town of about 2,500 people. Everybody knows everybody. And the Moore family sits right at the center of community life. Josiah Moore is 43, a well-liked local businessman who runs his own farm equipment company. His wife Sarah is 39, and together they have 4 kids: Herman, who's 11, Catherine, who's 10, Arthur, who's 7, and little Paul, who's just 5. They're a good family, the kind people wave at from the porch. On the evening of Sunday, June 9th, the Moores head to the local Presbyterian church for a Children's Day service. 2 of Catherine's friends, sisters Lena and Ina Stillinger, are performing in the program that night. The girls are 11 and 8. After the service wraps up, Josiah calls the Stillinger family home and asks if the girls can spend the night. Their older sister Blanche says yes, so the whole group walks the 5 minutes back to the Moore house, arriving just after 9:30 p.m. It was a perfectly ordinary, happy evening. So why did nobody in that house wake up alive? The next morning, just before 7 a.m., the Moore family's next-door neighbor, a woman named Mary Peckham, notices something off. The chickens are still locked up in their coop. The family hasn't come out to do their morning chores, which never happens. She goes over and knocks on the door. No answer. She tries the handle. It's locked. She goes back home and calls Josiah's brother, Ross, who comes over with a spare key and lets himself in. He opens the door to the downstairs guest room and immediately sees the bodies of Lena and Ina Stillinger on the bed. He backs out of the house and tells Mary to call the town marshal. When Marshal Hank Horton arrives and works his way through the rest of the house, he finds the same thing in every room. All 8 people are dead in their beds. Every single one of them has had their skull caved in, some of them struck 20 to 30 times with the blunt end of an axe. The ceiling in the parents' bedroom and the children's room upstairs has gouge marks in it from the upswings of the weapon. Josiah himself was hit so many times that his eyes are no longer there. His face has been destroyed, and every single victim has had their head covered with bedclothes after they were killed. The killer did that deliberately, going bed to cover each face. But it's everything else in that house that really gets to detectives, because the killer didn't just murder 8 people and leave. He stayed. Every mirror in the house has been covered, not just in one room, all of them. Whoever did this pulled clothing out of dresser drawers and draped it over every reflective surface in the building. The windows are all blacked out too, either with the blinds drawn or with garments hung over them. The gas lamp upstairs has its glass chimney removed and the wick turned all the way down to almost nothing, so the only light it gives off is barely a flicker. It's like the killer wanted total darkness and total silence, like he needed no one to see in and no one to see out. Down in the room where the Stillinger girls were killed, detectives find the axe leaning upright against the wall. It belongs to the Moore family, taken from their own coal shed. There's a bowl of bloody water in the kitchen where the killer washed his hands, and on the kitchen table, there's a plate of food, beans and bread. The killer made himself something to eat. He sat in that house, surrounded by 8 bodies, and had a meal before he left. In the room with the Stillinger girls, investigators also find a 4-pound slab of raw bacon sitting on the floor next to the axe. Nobody can explain why. There's also a fragment of a keychain that doesn't belong to anyone in the Moore family, and when detectives check the front door, they realize the killer locked it behind him on his way out. he took the house key. Now, here's where it gets worse. Because by the time any real investigation can begin, the crime scene is gone. At 8:40 in the morning, the town's telephone exchange issues what's essentially an all call to every household in Villisca, telling them what happened at the Moore house. Within minutes, over 100 people pour through the front door. They walk through the blood, they touch the walls, they pick things up. The town marshal actually lets some of them handle the murder weapon. And some of the townspeople, and this is real, take fragments of Josiah Moore's skull as souvenirs before anyone can stop them. By the time the coroner arrives and manages to get the National Guard to secure a perimeter, the scene has been completely contaminated. Any physical evidence the killer left behind is essentially worthless. Investigators are left piecing things together with almost nothing. Several suspects emerge over the years. Frank Jones, a local businessman and state senator who had a grudge against Josiah after Moore left his company to start a rival business. There are also rumors of an affair that allegedly involved Jones's own daughter-in-law, though nothing is ever proven. Detectives look hard at Jones but can't build a case. Then there's Reverend Lyn George Kelly, a traveling English minister who was in town that weekend to help run the very church service the Moores attended. He leaves Villisca on the 5:19 a.m. train on June 10th, hours before the bodies are even found. But here's what makes investigators sit up. Passengers on that train later report that Kelly told them there were 8 dead souls back in Villisca before the discovery was public knowledge. He also starts writing obsessive letters to investigators and to the families of the victims in the weeks after, claiming he may have heard or even witnessed the murders. Police eventually get a confession out of him in 1917, but after 2 trials and Kelly recanting and claiming the confession was coerced, he walks free. The jury doesn't believe him. The investigation also turns up striking similarities to a string of other axe murders across the Midwest between 1911 and 1912 in Colorado Springs, Ellsworth, and Paola. Same weapon, same covered mirrors, same covered bodies, same lamp with the chimney removed. Some researchers believe a single serial killer moved through those towns on the railway lines and was never caught. The bloodhounds called in on the morning of June 10th follow a trail from the Moore house directly to a railway junction before losing the scent. The Villisca Axe Murders were never solved. Nobody was ever convicted. The killer ate a meal in that house, covered every mirror, locked the door behind him, and vanished. And the question that nobody has ever been able to answer is this: what does it mean that he covered the mirrors? Was it ritual? Was it guilt? Was it something else entirely? Comment your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe while you're there.